Hamilton fans have long loved the stage production, but the film version on Disney Plus brings whole new meaning to key moments in the story. Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, I'm Jan, and in this video I'm revealing 11 surprising and often satisfying ways the Hamilton movie enhances or changes our experience of the musical. In other words, I'm explaining why it matters who films, who edits, who directs your story. Just before we begin, many thanks to the sponsor of this video, Full Sail University. One of the 9 cameras used to film the show by cinematographer Declan Quinn was set up to capture overhead shots of the stage. Because that angle can be rather disorienting for viewers, it's used sparingly during the final movie, but one of the moments where it does make an appearance is during Satisfied. It's a fleeting shot from above, but it heightens our understanding of Angelica's distress and also gives us a bird's eye view of the clever lighting design, where the lights converge on Angelica as the words drowning, drowning, rewind echo around the stage. All of that emphasises the sense of the world closing in on Angelica and being at the centre of a figurative storm and explosion of emotions. The film's quick overhead angle therefore adds to the disorienting experience of the whole song and its choreography, as the lyrics and dance moves rewind to earlier in the show. As Hamilton's film editor Jonah Moran told the Art of the Cut podcast, that view is something people never see in the live stage show. Even in the mezzanine, you still don't really get that perspective. There are a lot of comments about Laurens and Hamilton on my previous videos, huge thanks to everyone for those, and many of you saw the often lingering looks exchanged between them, as the show pointing to their being more than just close friends.
Laurens, I like you a lot.
Indeed, in the film, the way the camera often goes in for close-ups of the two of them seems to highlight that, or at the very least, leave it open for interpretation. There are many examples of this in the first act, including Stay Alive, where the camera moves in when Laurens tells Hamilton he'll fight Charles Lee. Then the camera goes in even closer, lingering on Laurens' reaction to Hamilton's reply. The camera pushes in as well during the story of Tonight, which is also poignant for being one of several ways the show foreshadows both Laurens' death and the moment Hamilton discovers this in Tomorrow There'll Be More of Us, which again includes an extended moment between the two men. In real life, Hamilton wrote many affectionate letters to Laurens, including one where he says, "I wish, my dear Laurens, it might be in my power by action rather than words to convince you that I love you." Historians tend to say they can't be definitive whether the two were lovers. Ron Chernow, who wrote the biography which inspired Lin-Manuel Miranda's musical, calls their relationship the most intimate friendship of Hamilton's life, adding that at the very least we can say that Hamilton had something like an adolescent crush on his friend. And according to Chernow, after Laurens died, Hamilton never again revealed his interior life to another man as he had to Laurens. He shut off some compartment of his emotions and never reopened it. Lin-Manuel Miranda told EW that when you watch this movie you have a house seat that never existed, and he's absolutely right, as one of the cameras had a view towards the audience thanks to a hole cut into the back of the set. And it's from that entirely fresh perspective that we first meet King George as he strides past us, emerging from the shadows to be bathed in red light. That shot from behind really adds to the drama of the King's entrance, nicely building up to his first moment in the spotlight. During live performances, you might only spot how dripping with madness King George is if you're near enough to the stage. But now that the film gives us all the best and same seat in the house, as the Hamilton team put it, no one can miss just how drenched in sarcasm and saliva Jonathan Groff's performance gets. Yes, thanks to the filmmakers going right in for lots of close-ups, everyone can now appreciate Groffsauce, as Miranda nicknamed him, as he enunciates and projects his way around the stage. And Groff himself told Variety that he's always been quite the spitter when it comes to performing live. Hurricane takes us inside Hamilton's head and reveals his thinking behind making his affair with Maria Reynolds public. As he reflects on his life, the show's lighting and choreography put him in the eye of a storm, still at first, then with people from his past and present, including his enemies, friends, lover and mother, spinning around him, in a callback to the literal hurricane that ultimately led him to leave his hometown for America. The show's staging and story are underscored by the film's camera work. For director Thomas Kail, using a Steadicam to film this scene meant they were able to use the lens to create a closeness to Hamilton's decision, by really being up close with Lin-Manuel Miranda. As Kail told EW, there's a way that the Steadicam floats which feels a little out of time, so it felt like a chance to be with Hamilton in the midst of this stillness before the explosion, and that creates a sense of anticipation from what's about to come. Given the potentially disorienting effect of overhead shots, it's totally fitting that they pop up again during the Reynolds Pamphlet, where we see the effects of Hamilton's document about his extramarital affair going public. The scene on stage is already a crazy one, with several of the main cast and the ensemble dancing around, throwing leaflets into the air and generally revelling in Hamilton's self-inflicted downfall. For me, the overhead shot of Hamilton in the middle of this chaos adds to the scene's sense of deliriousness, smug celebration, schadenfreude, and general feeling that the world is crashing down around him, to use Miranda's words. The overhead shot highlights the fact that despite being surrounded by people, he's very much alone. It does this by giving us a quick but clear view of him as a lone figure in the centre of the action, being circled and taunted by a gleeful Jefferson and King George, while Madison tosses his pamphlets up into the camera, and all the while they sing "Never Gonna Be President Now." On top of that, the aerial shot also reveals one of the male dancers writhing around on the floor, seemingly mocking the kind of move that got Hamilton into this trouble in the first place. And all of that together dials up the wild nature of the scene. Another way the film enhances a story is using close-ups to reveal different perspectives by focusing on the actors' performances. During Helpless, just after Alexander and Eliza first meet, we see Angelica's reaction from the side.
I'll leave you to it!
Just for a second before the camera moves to her sister, because this song is Eliza's point of view. However, when we get to Satisfied, the story gives us a different viewpoint on that evening, and the film mirrors the way the narrative refocuses by literally reframing the situation so that we now clearly see the reaction on Angelica's face in that moment, as this time the camera pushes in on her.
I'll leave you to it!
Overall, this whole number and the way it's shot and edited in the film continues to build the show's major theme that history is different depending on who tells it. Of course, Satisfied is really emotional, but much of it is performed at a breakneck pace to underline both Angelica's brilliance and her distress. And the stage itself is frequently full of activity during the song. To reflect that lyrical speed and action on the stage, and because Renée Elise Goldsberry is so expressive, editor Jonah Moran chose to use lots of quick cut close-ups so that you can see that emotion and it flies right at you, just like the song is flying right at you. By the way, fun fact, director Thomas Kail told Screen Rant that the way Satisfied goes into the mind and the heart of Angelica Schuyler was heavily influenced by the scene in Pixar's Ratatouille, where the critic takes a bite of the food and in that moment you go into his eye and you go back to his childhood, and then he has this visceral and emotional connection to the food. When a Hamill fan asked Renée Elise Goldsberry on Twitter about her favourite hairstyle in the show, we got a little insight into another thing that changed for the movie. Angelica has several different looks in the musical, and normally Goldsberry's favourite is the high bun she wears towards the end. However, for the filmed version, the actress chose to change up her early look. So instead of wearing a wig as she does on stage for the first part of the story, she went with her own hair, with some added volume in the back, as she didn't want her usual lace front wig on screen in the film. As I mentioned in my Hamilton Things You Missed video, the lyrics run at a breathtakingly fast and furious speed, so having access to captions right there on the screen where it happens is great both for those with hearing loss as well as everyone else. Even if you already know every line of the show off by heart, seeing the words pop up on screen means, for example, you can now easily see how specific lyrics are tied to specific dance moves, gestures and facial expressions. And that can be rather revealing because, as choreographer Andy Blankenbuehler has said, every movement on stage furthers the story in some way. And I talk more about that in my video on the show's secret character. Also, in a production where the lyrics are jam-packed with multiple meanings, historical references, hat tips to different musical genres, witty retorts and wordplay, being able to read each and every line on screen makes it easier to notice more of those amazing details. Of course, some but not all theatre productions have surtitles, but having captions right in front of you during the film means you don't have to look to the side or crick your neck to read what's being said, as can be the case in the theatre. Speaking of lyrics, if you've seen the show live or listened to the soundtrack, you'll likely notice that a couple of moments are censored for language in the film on Disney+. That was to avoid getting an R rating rather than the PG-13 rating the movie ended up with. First of all, in the song Yorktown, the F-bomb is muted during Hercules Mulligan's line, "When you knock me down, I get the back up." Then in the second act, during Washington on Your Side, Jefferson and Madison's expletive in the line, "Southern Mother, Democratic Republican," is overlaid with sound, which which Miranda called a record scratch, to erase it. The change means the film is accessible to a wider audience than it would have been otherwise, and as Miranda told fans on Twitter, you can sing whatever you like at home, even sync up the album. And if you feel inspired to learn the kind of skills the Hamilton filmmakers used to make their amazing movie, check out Full Sail University, whose graduate students have landed jobs on award-winning movies and TV shows including Joker, Toy Story 4, Avengers Endgame and Game of Thrones. Full Sail's Film Bachelor's degree programme immerses you in the world of filmmaking from every angle. You'll gain practical experience while learning what it's like to work on a film from start to finish, giving you a feel for the role each crew member plays in a production. And the Digital Cinematography Online degree programme merges the artistic concepts of traditional filmmaking with the technical tools used in everything from documentary filmmaking to commercial production and web video. These degrees are offered in an accelerated format to get you into the field faster. If you want to find out more about these film programmes and how to get started, visit fullsail.edu/flicksinthecity to learn more. That's fullsail.edu/flicksinthecity. So what moments stood out for you in the film, and did you notice any changes? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe and leave a thumbs up. To learn more about all the other amazing details in the musical and how the show changed history, tap left for my full Hamilton playlist, or tap right for something else you're sure to like.